Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Troy Provo Heron.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Blueticks Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Tennessee basketball gets a big win, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership. The University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group, and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook lead off with Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Today, we'll talk some Tennessee basketball and follow up with some other volunteer news. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli will be with us. Donnie Moore will update us on high school scores and news from around the area. And then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features Maryville Christian boys basketball. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week will be announced, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons, as Eagleton Boys Hoops will be on the agenda. Donnie Moore returns to discuss headlines from around the sports world before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on the Heisman Trophy selection and the impact the transfer portal is having on college athletics. And finally, the Bold Predictions segment closes the show out as the panel will make their weekly picks. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group UT Sports Report and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli is with us. Good morning, everybody. And Tony Iruli, you football players are awful tough. You had this gallbladder surgery there on Wednesday, and here you are. You're looking fit and fiddle.
I've had 2 surgeries, gallbladder taken out on Wednesday, stones on Monday, but there's no way I would be able to miss an opportunity of hanging out with you guys.
We appreciate that, Tony.
Of course, my wife thinks I'm not very smart and dumb and all that, but I've been told that many, many times, as you all know.
I was going to say, that's something new?
No, that's something that happens quite often and all that. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad that everything turned out okay. And
it's just good to get out of the house and being around.
Yeah.
So do you get to keep the gallbladder? Do you have like a jar in the office now? Or?
I rattle it. like that. I go from room to room rattling the stones and all that.
Well, for lunch today, you're going to get a lot of fried stuff?
Well, I've been told to stay away from that and all that. So, and to tell an Italian that he's got to cut back on his eating habits, that's the toughest part right there.
That's tough stuff.
Lord, that'll be tough.
But good to be here.
Yeah. Well, I've got a little letter rip this morning, so I'm gonna get on it. Today I'm ripping players that opt out of bowl games. Don't tell me they're loyal to their team's fans. Don't tell me they're loyal to their teammates. Don't tell me they're loyal to their coaches, and don't tell me they are loyal to college football. The only thing these guys are loyal to is the almighty dollar and themselves. Afraid they might get hurt in a game that does not mean anything? Well, why didn't they opt out of the 3 cupcake games they played during the regular season? These players who are opting out of bowl games are making these contests even more insignificant than they already are. Fans don't want to watch these games to see scrubs play. Bowl games used to be an award for an outstanding year, and due to players opting out, they're nothing more than glorified exhibition games. Tony Iruli, you're involved with college football. What's your take on these guys opting out of games? It used to be a reward for everybody, a big thing to go to a bowl game, huh?
Well, it used to be such an honor and privilege to be going to a bowl game because, you only had a few bowl games. Now there's so many bowl games out there. You got the potato eater, mashed potato bowl.
6 today?
Yeah, and you've never heard.
Starting at 11 a.m. and going until like 9:30.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 today, and you've never heard of them. And we used to make fun of a Pool and Weed Eater Bowl down in New Orleans. But, there's so many bowl games that some of the teams that are playing have actually losing records. And so it's a whole different deal. I don't like the idea with players opting. Now, I can kind of understand if you're potentially a top first round pick, but you're talking about guys that are, second, third, fourth round,
wannabes
and all that. And to play in a bowl game really kind of enhances their opportunity because they're around scouts during that whole week.
Yep.
And I just don't like it.
Tony, I'm going to go back a long time here, but back in the latter part, this is before Marcus. He can't respond to this. Donnie may remember a little bit of this, but back in the latter 50s and the early 60s, in August of every year in Soldier Field, they had the College All-Stars playing the team that won the National Football League championship.
That's right.
A group of All-Stars playing in that game against not other colleges, pros that won the National Football League in a game. And Otto Graham, remember Otto Graham coached those teams back in the day. And
that was always the first game, the preseason.
Hey, those guys weren't worried about getting hurt.
No, none of them opted out. They all played. It's just a whole different dynamics with the, we'll talk about later on with the transfer portal, with eligibility, with NILs. I mean, a lot of the guys that I start off coaching with, they're all saying, I'm glad I'm not a part of it anymore.
I don't remember the player in one of those games, but he played opposite Big Daddy Lipscomb. You remember Big Daddy that played for the Baltimore Colts?
Yep.
He was playing in back of him, and they ran a play, and he came off of the field screaming.
Yeah.
To the coaches, he says, I can't see. And he kept falling down. And they got him over to the sideline and said, well, your helmet's turned around. Said, you're looking out of the air hole of your helmet. And what's happened is you're tripping over your arm. That's been broke coming off of the field. Yeah. But some of those games were a blowout, but surprisingly, some of them were pretty good.
Yeah. And, I remember, in the 60s, watching the game, and I was a big Packer fan, so a lot of those All-Stars, they opened up their pro career going against the Green Bay Packers and Vince Lombardi just before they'd go there. But it was a serious deal.
Donnie, could you imagine that today? The Kansas City Chiefs, champions of the world, playing the college All-Stars right here before, right after the bowl game, or not after the bowl games, but say, before the draft or whatever, before the draft, and the pros said, well, we just want to get another look at you.
Yeah.
It's a pro team. Can you imagine that happening today?
It was after the draft. It was like in Canton, Ohio, and they I think they combined it with the Hall of Fame or something like that. But that was always the very first preseason game, and that's right. All the All-Stars played in it.
If I remember right, those uniforms that the college All-Stars wore, they were a lot like Dallas. I think Dallas picked up the stars.
They got the star on it.
Yeah, that's the exactly uniforms of the day going college All-Stars that they had back in that time. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little Tennessee basketball right here. And Marcus, I'm going to hit you first. Last Saturday, Tennessee got a big win over 20th ranked Illinois, 86-79, and first win over a ranked team. They've played a lot of ranked teams this year, but I'm telling you, that was an impressive win. I was very impressed with Illinois. I'd seen them a few nights before when they beat, I think, Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic was ranked number 11 in the country. And they put up some big numbers against them, shot about 65% from the floor. And this was a tough game for Tennessee all the way through, but by golly, they played their best game, I thought, last Saturday of the year.
Oh, I think they played really well, and they didn't do what you were afraid of. They didn't plot it down. They didn't try to play a defensive grind-out game. They played good defense and slowed down a very good Illinois team enough to beat them.
Yeah. I like the way they're playing. I think Dalton Connect has got a lot to do with that. He's their most consistent player. He's 20 points a game. Okay, sure, he doesn't play as good a defense as some of the other players, but you're going to keep a 20-point score on the bench, Tony? I don't think so.
Find a way to get him the ball.
Yeah, you got to give him the basketball. But I really like the style they're playing right now, Marcus, and I hope that they continue that route. The other players on the team, there's a lot of inconsistency there. But that's been the rap on some of those players since Barnes been here. Vescovi could come out and get 21 night, and he could get 2 the next or 5 the next, and the same way with Ziegler. He could get 16 or 17 one night, maybe 4 the next. But with Dalton Connect, you're going to get your 18 to 20 points out of him. And that's been the road that Dalton has been on since the start of the year.
And I think some of the adjustments settling down to the new roles. I don't think they're asking Vescovy to be the scorer he's been, and I think that we're seeing the impact perhaps on his percentage because he's not as perhaps dialed in on his shot. We know Ziegler's still working back into it from the time he spent recovering from his ACL. I think what's interesting is what you're seeing with Connect and Adu, where they're able to play almost a two-man game at some points. And when you bring Josiah Jordan-James in on that other side, they can make Tennessee a triple threat with those three guys. They just have to you have to get Adu and James to be consistent as connectors with it.
Basketball's sort of like football. You got to have good running game and pretty good passing game. And in basketball, you got to play inside and you got to play outside. And that's what this team's trying to do.
Yep.
And with Adu right now, he's really come around. And a couple of guys, Meshek and Awaka off of the bench, both of those guys have contributed. So Tennessee's coming around with an inside game and an outside game, and by golly, that's the ingredient that can make you pretty powerful.
Yeah, and Coach Barnes, I mean, you know they're going to be well coached. That's his history, and he works them a certain way. He's got his method. He's got his way he coaches and the style that he coaches, and has always given him the great success he's had throughout his career. Do the Tennessee fans want it to be better? Yes, I understand that. But, year in, year out, he gets his team ready to play, and especially when it starts into the SEC schedule. Yeah,
well, they shot 45% from the field, Donnie, and they had 5 players in double figures. You get 5 players in double figures, you're going to win the basketball game.
Most likely you're going to win the
unless
ball
you turn it over 22 times.
That's true.
And they're not doing that. Their turnovers right now, I think they had 9 turnovers in this basketball game, somewhere in that neighborhood, and golly, they're in most games that you've seen this year, outside of the sloppy game they played the other night against Georgia Southern?
Georgia Southern.
Who
Second half,
game. Yeah, I think they turned it over 20-some times against that bunch. But
first half they played practically a perfect game.
But against everybody else, 12 turnovers a game and in, well, you're not going to beat yourself on that, Tony.
No. And, if you're a guy that's going to turn the ball over a lot, you're not going to see the floor. And that's the way Coach Barnes coaches.
I tell you, one of the impressive things about beating Illinois is, those Big Ten teams are pretty physical on the inside, Marcus, and they came in here as one of the top rebounding teams in the country. Tennessee out-rebounded them by 9 boards, and that was a big factor in this game.
The offensive rebounds were impressive, and the fact Tennessee was able to do that just kind of emphasized what you're talking about. They were getting to the boards, but Tennessee's always makes a concentrated effort on defense and rebounding. Barnes doesn't emphasize it as much, but you'll hear him talk about it when they don't do well. And, Tennessee rebounds with all 5. Nobody's pulling out to run away, and Tennessee's playing. All 5 are crashing the boards. That's why you see Vescovy get so many rebounds.
Yeah.
For a guard.
Yeah, you talk about Adu and Meshak and, Waka But, golly, you take a guy like Vescovy, he's getting as many boards as some of those.
I mean, Tennessee is excellent at the tip rebound, where the big guy's tipping it out to a guard to get it rather than trying to battle with 3 other guys and see who comes out of it. If it goes out of bounds, what the ref's going to call.
Yeah. Dalton Connect, he had 21 points, and we've talked about his consistency, but the scoring inside. 38-24, Tony, inside Tennessee.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a performance in there to outscore the other team by 14 on the inside when you're trying to develop in those guys. That's a pretty good measurement right there that you got the material to do it.
Sure, and it's going to Coach Barnes' plan. I mean, the way he develops his team. I mean, he's been doing it for so many years, and he knows how he wants to approach the game offensively.
Yeah. He played, Tony played about 8 guys in the game.
Yep.
Do you think that that Barnes has settled into his lineup? He knows who his 5 starters are now, and maybe he knows who's going to come off the bench, the 3 guys or so.
Yeah, he's never been.
Are the from 8 down? Are they sort of right now on what do you call it? Coaching hold, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, he's never been a guy that he's going to be playing 11, 12 players a game.
Yeah.
All right, unless it's a blowout or something like that. He's got his starters and he's got his core. 3, maybe 4 at the very most guys that he's going to go in and a forward can play on the right or left side, and you can have obviously a point guard, but the guards that can jump in there. And so that's kind of always been his plan.
Yeah. I'll give you the same question there, Marcus. You think Rick Barnes has gotten into his lineup now? He's got his 5-star. He's got Connect, Adu, James, Vescovi, Ziegler, and then he's got his other 3 guys coming off of the bench right now. Do you think that's where we're heading until injuries play in, or do you think he's still open to maybe some other guys breaking in there?
I think this is the 5 we're going to mainly see, barring any injury. I'm not sure the rotation is completely set. I mean, I think we've got 8, but I'm not sure that there isn't going to be a 9th involved in this. And it may get whittled down to 7. Just depends to a degree on how well they're playing defensively. And some of those games is going to depend on matchup. And then you never know, because there are times when Tennessee doesn't seem to be doing well on one end or the other, and he'll pull somebody off the end of the bench. We've seen that happen, and put them in just to see, what they do over a 2-minute streak. So you never know when some of those are going to develop.
Let's look at Donnie. I'll get you involved here. Let's look at a couple of areas of concern. Number one is how they play against a press. I'm a little surprised that teams don't press them a little bit more than they do. They seem to have they had a little bit of problem against Illinois, there at the end of the game, trying to – of course, they got some fouls called in that press, and they were in the 2-shot, and it helped them a lot. But some of those calls you don't get on the road. And the other concern are these valleys. They tend to go into a valley. They had a valley right before the half, where they were pretty well up most of the first half, and then, by golly, they went into a valley, and then – Illinois got up by 2. But I don't know. Do all teams go into these valleys, or is this just
Well, I think to a certain extent all teams do it, but maybe not to the extent that Tennessee does. Tennessee goes cold as ice.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, and especially in the second half.
Yeah, just a few points in 6 minutes or something like that, So,
and they just, when they don't score, they don't score.
Yeah.
I mean, they do not score at all a lot of times.
Why do you think teams don't press them more? Because they seem to really struggle a little bit with pressure.
I don't know, and that's probably a good strategy against Tennessee.
Yeah.
But you pay a price for that because you get. But if you're not in tip-top condition,
when you're
it wears you out.
When you're looking at all the things that you can look at to be critical about, that's just about all I can come up with right now with this basketball team.
That's true. If that's the best you can come up with, they're not bad.
They're heading right, and they only had 9 turnovers in that game against Illinois. Vescovi, I think he's getting back into his form. He was out there early in the year. He had to go back to his country for a funeral. I think his grandmother's funeral. And he came back, and he's now getting back into form, Marcus, and that's a good sign.
Well, I don't think his defensive intensity ever dropped off. I mean, he came back still able to be a lockdown defender. His shot and that consistency, that's going to take some work, because I'm not sure how much his standing works with what Connect is doing on the move. So I think there's I'm not sure. I think there's still some pieces to be worked out there as to if Connect is going to dish out to give it to Vescovi where he wants it. Because it seems like sometimes when it's coming out of there, it's where Vescovi's going to have to move, and that's not where he's going to hit that three, not reliably.
Tony, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Illinois, and I don't know who benefited more from this game. Tennessee, maybe you can answer that question. Who did benefit more from this game, Tennessee or Illinois? You don't want to lose, obviously. Yep. Illinois came in here and played pretty well in front of a hostile crowd.
They did. They came down here. You're exactly right. To be a championship team, you've got to be able to get yourself in that type of environment, for when you have those tough games on the road. Later on in the season, especially against your conference team.
And they were right there.
They were right there.
That game could have gone either way.
It was toe-to-toe for well and all that.
So they would have to come away from here feeling, pretty good about themselves, don't you think? For the most part?
Playing that, in that type of environment, obviously they prefer to win, but obviously I think they feel like that they played a good game against a very good very good basketball team.
Marcus, the last 3 years, Rick Barnes is 14-12. The last 3 years against top 25 teams. He's 7-4 against top 10 teams, And among those bunched up, he's 9-0 at home. 9-0 at home against those ranked teams. If you're looking at great coaches and great programs, those are the kind of numbers you want to see, isn't it? Huh?
Well, it's certainly the number. You wouldn't want those numbers to be much different. I mean, not if you're looking for what Tennessee, the expectations are for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because you remember, the bottom line is for anybody coaching the men's team right now, and you have a different reference point, but I would say the majority of the fan base is going to compare it to the Bruce Pearl team that was playing for the Elite Eight. That's the comparison. That's the benchmark. We want you to be that good.
Yeah. Well, this has been the benchmark for Rick Barnes and Tennessee basketball since he's been here. You could count on defense over offense.
Yes.
Pretty much. And you can count on him not going any further than the Sweet 16. Now we've got a transition. And I guess that's my question. Is Tennessee in a transition now where we're going to see more points, less defense, and a Final Four? What do you think?
Well, you're going to have to prove that to me. They are. They're going to have to prove that to me because, it's just it just hasn't happened so far. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, Marcus,
we'll see how you've got to see how this grind is going to go. There's 2 months of basketball that's going to be there's not going to be any questions left, I don't think, by the time we get to end of February as to where Tennessee's strong and where Tennessee's weak.
Yeah, and Tony, you got that great unknown out there is injuries.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of injuries could change his whole style of play, the whole style of play, and everything that you've got going right now, couldn't it?
Yeah, and it can be very tenacious in terms of you've got things going very good and all that. Then all of a sudden you got one injury, and it may not be to the main guy, but someone who's one of the starters who's a key ingredient to their offensive defensive success. You lose that guy.
Yeah.
Now there's a
just as a perfect example at North Carolina, you're right there, and the game's on the line. You've come back from being down 23 points, and you got all the momentum right there. And Dalton Connect gets hurt, and then with 6 minutes to go in the game, and then you
weren't able to get over the hump. Yeah.
The question is, what could you have done with him in there the last 6 minutes?
I think that's going to be that's my biggest concern going forward as far as the key pieces and injuries. One is Ziegler, but the other one, Connect's twisted, has popped that ankle now. That's one of those things that once it's done, especially in a season grind, it's so easy to do it the second time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know the training staff's watching it. Everybody, he's watching it. It's not like it's an unknown, but you just don't know what can happen there at the worst opportune moment.
Well, they're taping him up, and they're probably putting an extra tug on that tape right there on that ankle. Hey, Donnie, Tennessee went to the line 34 times. If you look at those basketball games they lost against ranked teams, they didn't go to the line very much.
You're right. And they've got to shoot a good percentage from the line
from
too.
The free throw line. That's exactly right. And boy, that was big last Saturday, especially down the stretch. But they went 34 times, and the games they won last year in the big games, they went to the line a lot.
They sure did.
Yeah. So
a lot of those, you had two things. One, they were being aggressive and going into the paint to pick up fouls. They weren't settling for an outside shot. The second thing was Tennessee had a lead in the last few minutes and was being fouled to get to put them on the line.
Right.
When it's a 2 or 3 point game, teams aren't doing that. But when Tennessee's up by 5 or 6, teams will do that.
Right.
And that's just the difference that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's some of the disparity you saw against North Carolina, against Purdue, where Tennessee was committing fouls trying to make those plays, and they racked up that foul shots at the end.
Yeah. Well, this past Tuesday, Tony, Georgia Southern came in with their 0-9 ranking, 0-9 record. Ranked 232 out of 236, and Tennessee looked like they were just going to go away with them the first half and maybe play a lot of players. But the second half, 74 to 56, not so good. The second half,
it just got sloppy and just didn't finish off the way you would have wanted it to finish and all that. But it's just hard sometimes to figure out these kids sometimes. Where you think it's going to be a nice, easy route, and just they're just kind of a stumble along the way.
Well, it's hard to get up for somebody like that.
Yeah,
I mean, you just beat Illinois. Now you got Georgia Southern coming in here at
coming
0-9.
in 0-9.
Big game next game. It's just a little, it's just not the hype you want to have, going into the next game.
That's always been the biggest challenge. Doesn't matter what level it is. When you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Letdown after the big win.
Well, they came out really strong. I mean, they're up by 25, 26 at half. I think you had two things happen. Tennessee dropped off, and to me, that was the position Barnes should have gone down the end of the bench because those guys are hungry to play.
Right.
As started them off the second half. Don't even bother with the starters. But the other thing was Georgia Southern was upset. I don't know if they felt disrespected by Tennessee's lead, but Georgia Southern probably played one of the best halves they've played
all year
for being a winless team.
Yeah.
And they were upset about something. Somebody gave a good halftime speech.
Yeah.
They played a much better ball game second half.
Yeah. Well, Tennessee moved up to number 12, Donnie, in the rankings last week from number 17. They got back up there in the top 5, and I think they're real anxious to get them back up in the top 10 because I think they realize that this is a pretty good basketball team that they got. Now, they got North Carolina State tonight in San Antonio. That game's at 10 o'clock on ESPN2, and North Carolina State.
You going to be able to stay up for that one?
I'm going to try. North Carolina State going into this week was 6-2. Don't know how they came out, but they lost to Ole Miss 72-52. They lost to Brigham Young 95-86, and they beat Vandy. And that Vandy team is not they're not really doing real well here in the pre-conference schedule. They beat them 84-78. So 6 wins. They really haven't beaten anybody to wake you up too much. But I look for the Vols to take care of business tonight. What do you think, Marcus?
I think it will be interesting. I think it's a good experience because it's a late game. And I think Tennessee needs a late game or two because especially on the road, you need the team to have that under their belt because sooner or later, if you're having a good run, tournament time, you're going to get that 9 o'clock start game, and you just need to have that experience with you.
These neutral site games throw me all for a loop. Last week they had on the schedule they had it looked like they had Auburn at Indiana, and they had Alabama at Purdue, and come to find out they were neutral site games. And here I am in the picks. I'm going, well, Indiana ought to play pretty well. No, well, it was a neutral site game, and Auburn beat them about 30 points, and then Alabama did play Purdue pretty tough.
Indiana was up in that game. I watched the first half. They had Auburn kind of reeling there in about the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, and Alabama played Purdue pretty well, but it wasn't like those two teams playing them in Indiana on their home court.
Right.
So, yeah. Hey, we'll take a time out here, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide high school scores and sports news from around the area. Veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature, Mark It Down. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com. Join us now. Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
The Blueticks.
Good chance.
Welcome back to the Goatee Sports page. Donnie Moore, high school basketball is in full stride.
Sure is.
Right here before Christmas, and everybody's fired up. And
oh, yeah.
By golly, the weather out there's gotten downright Indiana. It's basketball weather out there, huh?
It is indeed,
yeah, well,
Mike.
It's all yours.
It is indeed. Thank you, sir. Let's get right into our local scoreboard, sponsored by the Mandy B Street Realty. Let's start off with our Hoops Jam 5-Star Preps Classic being held over at Alcoa High School. Several teams were involved in that. So in girls action last night, Alcoa High School hosted Webb, and the Lady Tornadoes won that one 51-42. Alcoa's got a pretty strong team this year, Marcus.
Well, that was a bit of a payback because they played Webb back at first week in the Hall of Champions. So
they did.
Webb took them then. Alcoa got even up that mark with
payback.
Webb. And I appreciate 5 Stars doing a really good job. I'm not sure who was organizing it for Jesse, but they got 3 sites going last night. Alcoa, Oak Ridge, and Hardin Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Each had 3 games last night, and then today, Oak Ridge and Hardin Valley will be hosting 5 games apiece.
Wow.
So Alcoa, boys and girls, will be back in action at Hardin Valley. And I believe Maryville girls are at Oak Ridge. And I believe the Maryville boys are also going to be at Hardin Valley. They may be, but they could be Oak Ridge. I'm not sure how they divided those up. But
some good prep action going on if you want to take a ride over to
they're already
Hardin Valley or Oak
Ridge.
Ridge. Yeah.
First games are going to tip off shortly, and
take
it'll
a
go
ride
all the way
there.
up until about 7 or 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, some good basketball action going on. Okay, thanks to 5-Star Preps for putting that on. In boys action, Alcoa High School hosted Hamilton Heights, who was over at William Blount earlier this year. Hamilton Heights
that's a big team.
It is a big team. They had some.
I lost track of how many guys they've got on that roster over 6'6".
Yeah, they had a 6'10", at least one 6'10" guy, and they're a good basketball team. Hamilton Heights beat Alcoa last night 77-62.
And that was without Javin Carter playing.
Yeah.
He was on the bench last night with injury.
Yeah. So when they get Javin back, that'll give them a little shot in the arm. But Hamilton Heights beat them 77-62. Maryville played last night the nightcap action and beat Knoxville Catholic 73-60.
Big win for Coach Lambert and the Rebels. Because that Catholic team actually beat Hamilton Heights earlier this year.
Yeah, they're pretty well.
It's a good team.
Pretty well loaded.
Maryville's I think they're 8-0 now. I don't think they've lost yet.
Good deal. So congratulations to the Rebels. 73-60 winner over Knoxville Catholic last night. Action at Hardin Valley Academy last night. Maryville girls beat Fulton 54-41. So that was a good win for them.
It's important to pick up a win there in that situation, and they got one they needed.
They
right
sure
there.
did. In area action, Seymour hosted Pigeon Forge last night. Pigeon Forge traditionally has some pretty strong teams, but Seymour does too. And Seymour girls beat Pigeon Forge 50-26 last night, and Seymour boys also were victorious last night, 62-49.
Give me a shout out to Coach Mobley on that one. It's first win of the season, and they've been knocking on the door trying to break through.
Good.
So good to see them get that first win and maybe build from there.
Eagleton traveled to Sunbright last night, and Sunbright girls, I have a girls score but don't have a boys. Sunbright girls won that one 50-15 over the Royals.
Well, we'll catch up with Eagleton about that shortly.
Good.
Tease it for the next hour, but we'll do some follow-up with Eagleton.
You got it.
Because I believe I've had a Coach West sighting this morning. Here
good
at
deal.
Bluetick.
Greenback High School traveled to Oakdale last night in single A action. Oakdale girls were victorious in an easy victory over Greenback 61-46. And in boys action, 70-59 was your score, with a win for an Oakdale as well. More scores.
My teasers here.
Couldn't find a Heritage girls score last night. They hosted South Doyle, and they usually don't have any trouble posting their scores. But they
won. They were up by about 30 points in the first half.
Well,
so they were up big.
They probably just forgot to post one last night, but couldn't find it on their website or their or Coach T. Boys' score was 54-49. A win for Heritage boys last night. Congratulations to the Mountaineers.
Yeah, good win for them.
Yeah. And Maryville Christian won one last night against Knox Christian, 74-29. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, we'll
follow
talk
up about that
one
in more detail.
Yeah, the other side of the camera for those who can't see it yet.
Yeah.
We've got some Eagles in the house.
Good deal. And over at William Blount last night, Farragut girls beat the Lady Govs 52-42, and then in boys action last night it was an overtime thriller last night, 71-66 with a win for the Govs.
Was that at the Marv?
It was at the Marv.
Yeah, and Farragut had the ball with 18 seconds to go and a chance to win the game. Took a timeout and didn't get a shot.
Yeah,
really?
In regulation play. They went into overtime, and the game was nick and tough, and they called a foul. I think William Blount was up 2 at the time, maybe a minute and something to go in the game, and the coach they had a technical foul, and I think they shot.
It was on a player.
Yeah, they shot the foul shots. They shot the foul shots, the tech shots, and they hit a shot. It was 6 points. It went from a 2-point game, game to an 8-point game. Without anybody even having possession of the ball. That was it.
Right.
It was over.
And it was done.
It was over.
But as Stan Painter said, it was an adios.
Yeah, and Farragut played pretty well. They were 3-8 coming into that game last night at William Blount. So
they shot the ball well.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for scores at this time. Let's move on to some national letters of intent that were signed this week. Had 3 from Alcoa and 1 from Maryville High School. The ones from Alcoa, Brandon Winton, you know that name. He's an Alcoa High School wide receiver, signed with the University of South Florida, and he's going to be an early enrollee too. He's leaving as soon as he graduates. I think he graduates this semester.
Yeah.
And he's heading down to South Florida. He says he's tired of this cold weather.
Well,
he's heading down to South Florida.
The year before he was at the IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida.
He was.
So he got himself used to that South Florida
He sure
weather.
did.
Yeah, and he's trying to get down there for those last 4 bowl practices they have.
He is.
Sure.
He's going
So
to early enroll and start practicing.
He said they were probably going to put him in a dorm room, but I'm not sure what day he was going to plan on actually getting there. But I know they've got 4 practices left next week before they.
Are we going to be talking in a couple years how Tennessee let this guy get away? Or not?
Well, did Tennessee really let him get away? Because, they started recruiting Brandon when the coach at South Florida was on Tennessee's staff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he followed the coach when the coach moved to South Florida.
He did. He followed the coach.
Now, was he at Alcoa before he went to the IMG? Or
he was at Webb his freshman year.
He was at Webb.
Okay.
it's hard keeping up these kids just
But
in high
he's,
school.
Yeah. It's that transfer
he's-
portal.
he's-
It's hit the high school ranks. Where you
He's
been?
a really good football player, really good basketball player too.
Well,
so
he actually told us something that we'd suspected. He actually intended when he was a freshman to come in and play basketball. That was what he intended to be a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until he got on the field as a freshman at Webb that he kind of realized that
He was a pretty good football player.
he was a decent football player too. And when he worked at IMG, and he became a great football player.
yes, he did. But congratulations to Brandon Winton. Another congratulations goes out to Bryce Hayes from Alcoa High School. Signed a letter of intent and grant and aid with Bethel University to play baseball.
Good.
Another member of the Alcoa Championship football team this year.
He's got some baseball coming up in the spring.
He does, yeah. So he's not an early enrollee. He'll stay and play baseball with the Tornadoes. Congratulations to Bryce Hayes. Another Tornado, Joe McCord, member of the Alcoa Championship football team, going to go play football at Yale University. So
Wow.
going to be an Ivy Leaguer,
And
a Yaley.
a couple times this year, we've had a chance to talk to him and see his action, how he works, and it's a reference. You'd have to go probably a decade back, but not in stature, but in his kind of his personality.
Yeah.
He is so reminiscent of Sam Thompson, who went and played at Carnegie Mellon from Alcoa.
Yes.
And had a great collegiate career.
Sure did.
I think he went on to some doctorate work in aeronautical engineering, doing some advanced work, but very reminiscent in some of their personality types and their work, the way they go to work.
I agree.
At stuff.
Tony, did you ever get recruited by an Ivy League school?
Yale tried to recruit me, but I couldn't spell Yale. So
Dartmouth recruited me to play basketball, and I took the boards. They called the house. They said, "Hey, have you taken the SAT?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, how'd you do?" I said, "Well, I got 600." And he goes, "Was that on the math or the verbal, or math or the verbal?" I said, "Well, that was the combined."
yeah.
That was the end of that was the end of the conversation with Dartmouth.
Yeah, I mean, I told him I had a 1,400 on the SAT, but I combined the 4 SAT scores, got to 1,400. So
Yeah.
I thought I qualified. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Guys, can you help me
to
out
Joe
on that one? I don't
McCord.
understand that.
That'll be a real education. He's going to get there.
Hey, you better
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The other national letter of intent signed this week was from Maryville High School, Gage Ledoux.
That's great.
And for football, he is headed to West Point, to the Air Force Academy.
No,
Well, that's
I'm sorry, not West Point.
the Air Force Academy.
Air Force.
He's going to the Air Force.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah.
He's going out to Colorado. I was going in the wrong direction.
You
wasn't
sure
I?
are. One's on the ground, one's up in the sky.
That's
Don.
right. Going to the Air Force.
One's in New York and one's in Colorado.
This is true.
Let me check your drink here on that one.
This is true. But he's going. He's going to the Air Force Academy out in Colorado.
And what a football season they had out there.
Oh, did they ever?
Yeah.
Did they ever?
Great
so
year.
He's going to he's going. Congratulations are in order to Gage Ledoux. Before his injury, and even a little bit after, he had a fabulous career at Maryville High School,
sure.
and we want to take time to congratulate Gage, and he stands for. He'll do well.
Yeah, and the
He'll
way
do
he
well
was
in
able
college.
to fight through and get back at the end of the season, and being a team guy, it's important for him to be back. It's contributing to Maryville High School. Shows that the type of kid he is, and those are the type of people that a place like the academies are looking
That's
for.
true. He worked hard too,
Absolutely.
to get back. And one more item: Ensworth High School hired a former NFL quarterback Tim Hasselbeck as head football coach yesterday. He had spent 6 seasons in the NFL, notably 2003, 2004 with Washington, and 2005, 2006 with the New York Giants. And he worked with ESPN since 2008. So, 2000?
Yeah, one more hiring.
Tim Hasselbeck.
One more hiring to mention. George Quarles
Do it.
got hired at Austin P as their tight end coach. So
Yeah.
congratulations to George, and I'm
Congratulations.
good friends. I thought he got an absolutely raw deal over at
Yeah.
East Tennessee, but I'm
Yeah,
glad he's
we
over
did too.
at Austin P.
Yeah.
We did too. Well, that's going to do it for the Mandy B Street Realty local scoreboard. It's time to turn it over to veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature Mark It Down. after I tell you that you're listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. Marcus, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Donnie.
You're welcome.
We do have guests in the house, and you mentioned the score earlier, 74-29 win last night for the Maryville Christian Eagles. Coach Turberfield's joined us this morning and brought a couple players with us. Coach, welcome. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We greatly appreciate it.
Let me start off with introduce who you brought with you this morning.
Yeah, so right here I got Isaac Fritz. He is a junior for us, a very prominent player for our program. And then we have one of our seniors here, Preston Dameron. He's a senior and a captain on our team. So 2 great representatives of our program. Well,
let's talk about last night then. A convincing win over Knoxville Christian, but a win I think you were expecting to get.
Yeah.
This first year in TSSAA sort of stuff, it's kind of there's some disparity in the region. Is that a good way to say it?
Well, we actually aren't TSSAA
no, well,
yet.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not yet. But this week has kind of been unique. We had a lot of chaos kind of go on. We originally weren't supposed to play Knoxville Christian, but they were willing to come out so that we could still get a game in. We had homecoming last night and had about 40 alumni come out. So it was a good night celebrating our alumni and getting a win on the court as well.
So how do you keep these guys focused, and how do you avoid the Rick Barnes problem we were talking about earlier with Tennessee when you've got an opponent like this and you've got to keep everybody focused to stay in the game and keep
I mean, we talk about we treat every single opponent with the same amount of respect. We should prepare the same way, have the same attention to detail, and they did a really good job of doing that last night, of just staying locked in, focused. We wanted to make sure that we went out last night and played well, made our alumni proud. Of being former students at Maryville Christian School, and that's exactly what our guys did last night.
And how is the process going as you all are still in? And I've forgotten the name of the association at this point.
So we're independent for athletics, but there's an end of the year tournament called NACA,
right.
National Association of Christian Athletes, that we play in. That features teams from Florida all the way to West Virginia. Teams from all over the Southeast. So that's the end of the year tournament that all of our high school varsity sports get to play in.
Okay. So is the intent that you all will be TSSAA at some point?
Yes, we absolutely do plan to transition to. We're growing as a school. We surpassed 400 students for the first time in school history. So we're weighing when to make that decision, and we have a important meeting in January. We're going to talk about that specifically as a school. With our board and stuff like that. So we're preparing and making strides to make that transition in the very near future.
Well, we'll pick on the players. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
So, Preston, what is this team good at? What does this team live on? It's defense? It's shooting? What do y'all look at?
Well, I think that we have an exceptional defense. I think that we really pride ourselves on really flying around, creating a lot of chaos, and I really think that aggressiveness that we keep on that end of the floor really translates to our offensive side. So we really focus on working the ball inside, and if it's there, we take it all the way to the rim, and if it's not, we just kick it out to one of our shooters, and they're just one pass away from knocking that shot down.
So are you all a trapping team, or are you just a defensive grind team?
I think it's a little bit of both. But whatever defense we are in, I think that we just hold ourselves to the standard of always just trying to put 100% effort in each possession. So I think it's more of a grind, I'd say, because we run a lot of defenses. But when we are put in a chaotic moment, we are ready to trap when we need to.
And Isaac, what's more fun? Is it when you have a game like last night, or when you've got a team, maybe one of the larger schools that maybe people have discounted you, or you're their homecoming and you're playing with them? Which one's more fun?
Definitely the better team is playing with a dogfight and comes down to the last minute. With better teams, it's definitely more fun because it's more tiring and you have to take better shots to win, and it's just more fun to play against a better team.
Do you like sneaking up on some of these people? Because it feels like you've done that a couple times over the last season.
Yeah, we did it against Scott County. I think it was Thursday night. I think they came in there not thinking anything of us, and we won by 1 at the end. It was a really fun game.
Coach, your guys are talking about defense and wanting the hard game. That's usually a sign that the program's headed in the right direction. What is the philosophy? How are you focusing these guys as far as what you want them to do?
Yeah, this group that we have this year is really special. We've got a good core group of seniors, and almost all of them have gone to Maryville Christian almost their entire life. They embody everything that is our school, our program. And it's a very selfless group. They share the basketball on the offensive end of the floor very well. They challenge each other, hold each other accountable, and play really hard on the defensive end of the floor. And like Isaac mentioned, Thursday night we got a huge win versus Scott County. It was a nail-biter down to the very end. But our guys, because of that chemistry and camaraderie that they had, was able to grind out that win.
So what defense are they referring to? Is this a trapping defense? Or
Yeah,
do y'all just go across the board with everything?
Yeah, it really depends on the opponent. It depends on the night, the scouting report. We'll play man-to-man. We'll play 2-3. We'll play a 1-3-1 half-court trap. We've even thrown at them a 1-2-2 kind of half-court defense, 2-2-1 press. We like to keep kind of teams off balance on the offensive end of the floor, kind of throw a bunch of defenses at them, so that they can't really get into a rhythm. And that takes, them making sure that they're locked in each possession, and they do a good job of that.
You mentioned you got a lot of seniors. You've got to have a lot of experience when you're going to run that many different defenses in a given week or so. Everybody's got to be on the same page and understand what they're doing. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's a little bit of a luxury. Then
it is.
You're taking
it is.
advantage of it?
It is, yeah, absolutely. And to be quite honest, we're still not 100% healthy. We've got one guy that's returning from an injury this week. He got to play a little bit, but not a ton. We're trying to save him, make sure that he's back to full strength. And then one of our other seniors, Caleb Brown, he was ready to have a huge impact on the team this year, but had an unfortunate injury right before we had our first game, but we're hoping we'll have him back by the Christmas tournament. So I can't wait to see what we do when we get to full strength.
You mentioned the key word because the holiday is upon us, and if you look around Bluetick, the lights are up. What are the Christmas tournament plans, and do you all take the Christmas tournament as the chance to lock in what the starting is going to be for the grind, or is it a chance to get as many people on the court as possible?
Yeah, so we got a game Monday. That'll be a really tough game. We're playing Berean Christian, who has had playing really good basketball right now. So we got to be ready for that. We've got practice later today, actually, so we're going to go watch film and put some work in. But then we've got the Christmas tournament. We're doing it after Christmas. But, every time we step on the floor, we want to win. So, if we can get out there and get a ton of guys in the game, then we want to. But, if we need to lock into our, 7-8 guys to make sure that we get the win, then that's absolutely what we're going to do.
Guys, Coach is talking about this being a upperclassman heavy team. How do you all mesh together? I mean, how does this team get along with each other?
I think that's one of our biggest strengths is we're all really good friends, and we all get along great. There's no bad blood on the team at all, and it gives us really good chemistry. None of us is selfish at all, and we just play really well together.
Who's the leader on this team? Who's the guy that's everybody's looking to when clutch time comes down and is going to depend on him?
Well, I think that our top 7-8 guys all have the capability of knocking down that last shot. But when it comes to leadership, I really think those starting 5, any of those guys you can look to, and they'll know exactly what you need to do and what we need to run if we're going to win this game. So
we've talked several times as teams this season, and when you've got the trap for Coach, and he's sitting there, he's like, I'm enjoying this. This is going to be good. But in the back of his mind, he's thinking, what am I going to do next year when all these seniors are gone? How do you all instill, what is Maryville Christian basketball to the freshmen, sophomores as they're coming up? How do you kind of impart this is the way we go to work?
Well, I mean, from the very first day in practice, we kind of brought everyone in and said that this year has got to be different, and we strive to improve every single year. So really just trying to instill a ideal of just continuous work and continuously getting better is the main focus, because they're the future of MCS sports, and we just need to instill that we're going to be great for years to come.
Okay. Coach, I'll give you a chance to give any shout-outs you need to. I know you got a couple hats you wear, but no team runs just a coach and players. There's some other people that are involved that you need to.
Yeah, I mean, we've got great support from our head of school all the way down to our teachers, upper school principal, everybody involved. If you've never come out to a Maryville Christian game, I would love for you to. We have a great environment. Our fans love basketball. It's always a fun environment to play in our home games. And then all the way down to our lower school coaches. They've done a phenomenal job where we've really got a true feeder program going from, getting our kids started at 3rd grade all the way up to our upper school teams, our high school teams. So, Maryville Christian's a great school. Everybody's on the same goal, same mission, same path, and I'm excited to see what we can continue to accomplish.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking the time to come in this morning, especially after playing a couple games this week. So Saturday was looking like maybe a chance to sleep in until practice got
Well,
here.
and they had a dance last night, so it was a long night.
It was a real long night.
It was.
So, anyway, we appreciate you guys coming in. Wish you the best of luck this
Thank
season. Mike, I guess we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Mark, time to turn the page and announce the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the Goatees Sports Page Player of the Week segment featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority. Proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. Marcus, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Mike. We got first-time guest. Well, an old friend in a new role.
All right.
Coach West is joining us. Same sport, different gender, different school, but glad to have you back. Eagleton boys basketball. And I guess you need to thank Anderson Lumber for the wood you used to take some people behind the shed last night, possibly.
Well, we had a good one last night.
Donnie was missing that score a little while ago. How did that turn out last night?
Well, we had to go up to Sunbright, which there's no easy way to get there. And if you miss the turn, which we did, you got to go down the road a little farther and some switchback curves. And I'm not used to being on the bus like I am at Eagleton. So it's been an adjustment. But, yeah, I think the final was 63-22. This young man had a pretty good night last night. And, it's good to get back on the winning track after – GP and Alcoa over the last couple of weeks, and then a long trip up to a really good Oneida team on Friday of last week.
So introduce the two players you brought with you. We recognize some of them, but just for the fans
I've got two with me here. Junior Nate Clemmer, also our quarterback, and our leading rebounder, and then Gio Hippolyte Jean, which they get his name wrong in about every single gym that we go to. Plays post for us, does a great job, also plays a little defensive end, had a pick 6 this year for us. And I know my Maryville buddies are saying he'd look good in red and black. Yes. But that's not going to happen. Or
too bad, huh?
Yeah, 825 Lawrence will burn to the ground if that happens. So,
well, Coach, we picked on the football team all year long about, first this, first that, first this. Mm-hmm. We've kind of spared you all that in the paper. But you're coming into a region that is very interesting.
You could say that again.
Talk a little bit about in this region, because we mentioned it last week when we had Alcoa around, that you all are you're in Alcoa in the same region.
Yeah, well, you look at us, and we got a little over 300 kids, and the T-Bus AA kind of put us in on a projection. They didn't do us any favors, and I make no bones about it. And I will not be sending Christmas cards to the T-Bus AA because I think we were wronged in a wrong way. And but you just got to fight through it, and we have. I think we've presented ourselves well so far through the season. We played GP really tough for 3 quarters, and I know you play 4 for a reason, but we were able to stay in the game with them deep into the third, and we took a little bullet from Alcoa. I think it was 16-2, and then we woke up a little bit. And competed a little bit. Now, we're not on the same level with those teams. Last night, Austin East beats Oak Ridge. So GP beats Oneida by 48. That district, I believe, when you look at GP, Alcoa, and Austin East, those 3 teams can beat any 4A team in our area. That includes Bearden. That includes Farragut, Maryville. Doesn't matter. Those 3 teams are as good as anybody. So, but it's also kind of neat. Who would have thought Eagleton, 5 years ago, Donnie. Who would have thought Eagleton is going to be playing Javin Carter? Now, I'll give it this. We cut the lead, I think, to 19 in the third, and our student section started yelling overrated. And, and I was immediately going, no, because pretty soon after that it was 35. And, and that's a school that hasn't had a varsity program and doesn't understand. But it's kind of neat that they were there, and to have Eagleton in that community, to have this program and have the facilities that we have now, and the path that we're on, our football team's success. We're 5-5 right now, and I think we got a chance to finish maybe in the top 4 and get to the region. If we can get this team to the region tournament this year, what a first year for a program that, an Eagleton community that kind of needs something like this.
And if you're making that comparison, this is year 1 for Eagleton. At Alcoa, you're talking about a school celebrating 100 years.
Yeah, and a recent 2A state title.
Yeah, that we're going to mention. They've got some gold and silver basketballs in that trophy case. Yeah. So the fact you're getting on the court and competing against these type of programs is nothing but building blocks for you guys, right? Here's
what I know. Our guys look like a basketball team. And when we go out there, it's not, you cannot just step on our court and you're going to beat us. You're going to have to play. And we pride ourselves in that. And, as long as I've been coaching, I think, whether hate me or love me, our teams play hard. And they're going to be competitive, and they're going to look coached. And that's not easy, and these guys will tell you it's not easy playing sometimes for me. And it's but I think they're learning that, and I love the toughness, and I love where we're going, and the fact that we got a senior that's kind of come out this year, has never played before, but we really don't have a senior class, and we have all these kids back next year, and it's super exciting what we can do, and just what we're given to that side of town.
Well, Nate, we've picked on you lots of times, so we'll pick. Are you ready for another one?
I guess so.
Transition, football, basketball, you'll have the playoff game that probably put Coach West back a week on his plans for basketball practice. Talk about making the transition going from the football program starting into basketball, even with little things like changing the footwork where you're not crossing where you are crossing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely a big switch. You go from being like all big, aggressive tackling people to having to kind of dial that back a little bit in basketball and use, a little bit more like your mind just to kind of play the game and move around a little bit. But it's definitely a tough change and something I've been trying to get back into it over the last couple of weeks. And I struggled a little bit during the start of the season as coach. I was in a bit of a shooting slump, but I'm starting to work out of it a little bit more now, and I think I'm doing a little bit better.
So you can't just throw the guys out from under the basket to get the rebound.
No.
What is this team kind of doing? Because you took some lumps from football. How is that some of those lessons translated to the basketball court as far as that first year type of stuff that you have to go through?
Yeah, it's just trying to build, and we're just trying to compete this year, and I think we've done a good job of that. For the most part, we've taken care of the teams that we're supposed to beat, but it's just some of the tougher teams like, Austin East and Alcoa that we've struggled with a little bit. But I think we're doing a little bit better now. I think everybody's starting to come into their role a little bit more, and we're still trying to learn how to play with each other. And I think that's something that'll work out a little bit better for us as the season goes on and more into next year.
So what's the identity of this team, Coach? Is this a defense-first team, or is this a shoot the ball from the outside
I think there's
team?
no doubt that defensively is kind of where we hang our hat. Now, as far as shooting the ball outside, I told Nate, and he's not lying. His first few games, I said, I'm not going hunting with him because the way he's shooting, it'd be a bad place to be because finding the rim and having him with a shotgun next to me would be scary. But over the last 2 weeks, he's really done well. He was 7 out of 9, one game, shot it well last night. But we took an Oneida team that's averaging 76 points per game and held them to 45. So that's kind of where to do the things that we have to do to be competitive, we have to be good on the defensive end, and I think we are. And it comes down. We've got, obviously we've got Big G here in the paint, and Big Perm comes in the game. We call him Big Perm. He's got a little curly perm. He's about 6'5". And then Noel, who's a freshman, who I believe is the best athlete on the floor, no matter who we're playing, and that includes Alcoa and GP. He just doesn't understand the game yet, but he jumps so fast and so high. Once his body and his mind kind of get together, he's going to be a special player. And he's only a freshman, so he's been putting a lot. He's got like 4 or 5 dunks this year already, and that's different from girls basketball. We'd throw a lob to Danae and she'd lay it in, and now Noel will take it down and yam it pretty good. So Gio thinks he can dunk it, but he gets pinned on the rim a little bit.
He's kind of nodding at that, like he's agreeing with it. Gio, Coach tried, but did he get it right? Can you say your name for us, how you'd like for people to actually say it?
It's Gio Hippolyte Jean.
That doesn't sound that hard.
No, it's really not.
But I bet you're right. There's probably not a visiting gym where you've had your name pronounced correctly.
We could probably go 5 games that we've been on the road, and it's been pronounced 5 different ways. And it doesn't matter. Even if I write it out on the card, a little phonics for them so that they can see it, they still can't get it.
Gio, what's your part in this team? Are you the backline defense that once they get to you're the last line? Is that sort of where it fits?
Yeah, I feel like I can be a good defensive player and play on offense whenever I'm needed to, but mostly on the defensive end and be like the big in the middle, last man, like you said. Now,
that's a little bit different from what you were doing on the football field, where you were right up there on the line a lot in the first part of that defense. How does that transition kind of go from you're being where you're just not seeing what's going on behind you to you seeing everything on the court in front of you?
it was my first year playing football, and I was told to, whenever we blitz, to try and get the quarterback and transition to basketball. I feel like if you lose your man, you could they could get a pass, and that leads to a bucket for the opposing team, and that could cost the team a lot. So
I heard during football that basketball was your first love. Is that kind of the truth? They had to get you on the football field?
Yes.
Well, you had a great season. The pick six is going to go down as one of the biggest plays of that first season for Eagleton. And I think the thing that Coach, and you can probably talk about this better than I can, he glided.
Oh, yeah.
Big men on the defensive line aren't supposed to glide.
Yeah, well,
they're supposed to truck and look like they're getting winded. He was just gazelle going down the field. Nobody was catching.
He picked it, and I was broadcasting the game for our school, and he gets in the end zone, and Gio's never scored a touchdown, and he probably had the most awkward spike and celebration I've ever seen, which you can't do in high school football. And the official threw the unsportsman flag on him, and I thought, man, that's tough to get a flag on that because, one, it was the weakest spike I've ever seen in my life. But when he got in there, he just didn't really know what to do. I mean, it's like he's watched enough NFL football to know it. He didn't do the gritty, or he didn't break out any kind of special dance, but he did spike it. But Gio's a great kid. This is a guy that both these guys are, blessed at Eagleton to have wonderful kids. And these guys are fun to coach. And I pick on them. I pick on them all the time. And that's just kind of the way we are. And they handle it pretty good. But I think Gio might get sick of it a little bit every now and then. And he'll give me that look, but he never says anything. That's it right there. That's what you're going to get. And there's not going to be a whole lot more. But his basketball is ahead of him. He's 15 years old. I mean, that's what people don't understand. He's a junior high school, but he's just 15 years old. He's not driving yet. He's going to be a steal for some college coach, especially on the football side, if that's what he wants to do. But his basketball ability is going to be there too. And as young as he is, it's just it's amazing what he can do. He gets sick of me saying that, but I'm never going to stop trying to get him to be better and challenging him to be better. But you won't find – I pushed all of our guys to play football. I'm trying to get them all out there. Now, I believe this is maybe a second-round playoff or deeper football team next year. We won't be playing basketball to December 1st. The scheduling next year, we're not going to be playing these early November games because these dudes aren't going to be there. Hopefully, they're going to be playing football. Mm-hmm. And I've never had to deal with that. Now when I was with Eldridge and we did that, we had to do that. But we always had a good mix of basketball guys and football guys. But you take football off our team, what we got left, Nate? A couple? We got, and I'm trying to get them all out there. And the football coaches say, well, we appreciate that, but that's because you don't want to do any preseason conditioning. You just want us to do it. And I was like, well, there's a bonus there that you guys could take care of all that.
He's got a method to this madness. Coach, I guess what I want, a big man that moves this way, that's got to be a blessing with what you can do and what you want to do.
Gio's the biggest tease I've ever seen in my life. And I say that with a love and affection. He'll do things in practice that you're like, oh, my goodness, there's nobody we play can stop that. And if Alcoa's watching, you can't stop it either. But it comes down to, will he do it? And sometimes he just don't. and I'm thinking, when that light turns on, y'all better look out, because that's 6'4", 225 coming at you, and he's fast, he's strong, and he's got hands. He's a gentle giant right now, and it's going to change one day. I know. I hope it does. If it don't, he's still going to be a great player and a great blessing, and love coaching him and wouldn't want to trade him for anybody else. But, man, I'm just waiting for it. If he drops steps and just plies somebody through the lane, I don't care if he charges. I don't care if he knocks 3 guys down. I want him to wreak havoc. And the thing is I know he can.
So what I hear right now is Blount County needs to go ahead and take out the insurance on the basketball goals now while the rates are low at Eagleton. Well, because it could be a problem in a season or two to get
Coach,
insurance on
Coach, I really sitting down here. You're looking at him, and where are you playing him?
Well, at Carson Newman.
and you're putting him.
Well, with his size, we use a we run a 3-4-4-3, but he's going to be like our edge rusher.
Yeah.
But we also use athletic edge rushers that can also drop back in coverage and such like that, because defenses have changed to compensate for the type of offenses that are going on right now.
Yeah, you put him in any skill set out there on the football field where he's in the weight room at a high level. Look at that frame. I mean, that's all you got to do. And then on top of that, he's actually really smart. Nate's pretty smart too.
Believe it or not.
He is. Coach, real quick, give us the rundown holiday tournament-wise. Where do we come see you?
We're going to go to Loudon. We'll be there next Tuesday. I told our guys, when you go to a Christmas tournament and the home host team puts you in the first game, that tells you that they don't think you're very good. But Loudon, we're coming. And so we got Loudon next Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, and then there's some good teams in there. Powell boys are in there. They're sitting 10-1. Yep. Cleveland boys are in that tournament. So we're going to be tested, and that's okay. And then we come back. There's no Happy New Year on that next Friday, Alcoa, at Alcoa. So welcome to 2024, and then we'll rock from there. But we're going to be fine.
Yeah. And I guess the last one to follow up. The other big change that when I look at the schedules this year across all the districts, it's no longer play this, play that tournament, play some leading games, play your district schedule after Christmas. You've already played district games, and you've got a back half that's mostly halfway through district play.
Yeah, we've played 3 district games. Now Alcoa and GP have not as many because obviously they're not going to play each other until well after the new year, and there's a reason for that. I'd love to play Alcoa November 16th. Because we know that they're not going to have all their football guys, but unfortunately next year we're not going to have these guys, and and there's we would have a hard time without these two on the court, obviously. But it's there's only 6 teams in our district, and I think that a lot of teams are experiencing that. There's no more 8-team districts like there used to be. So getting to the region, it's you have to go out and find games to fill your schedule. And, I had a lot of calls from Maryville, and everybody wanted to play us. And I thought, well, okay, I got Alcoa, GP, and Austin East. I really need to add Farragut and Maryville on top of that.
You're good.
You want to play Farragut and Maryville right after we play AE? And
Let me ask you guys a question. What was it like knowing, going back to football, since I'm a football guy, knowing that you step on the field playing the very first varsity game ever in school history like that? What was that feeling like? Was that a captivating moment, or was it just oh, well, here we are again, or what?
Yeah, it was special. It was special. When we had that first home game against Oneida, it felt a little bit different out there. There were all sorts of people coming, reporters. It was nice.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I would say, I think for me personally, it was a good feeling, especially for my first year in the first year varsity program, to play a first home game. Yeah. I think it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. I can kind of relate with you because when I was in high school as well, I was 15 years old when I was a junior in high school. So I understand being a young guy and, again, with these older guys. But I just, I'll be checking guys out without a doubt. And like I said, Coach, we've had a great relationship over the years, and I'm just very proud of what's going on over at Eagleton.
It's a good place, and I think being able to coach young men like this, it's going to be special. And it's cool that they're the building blocks of a first-year football program.
It's your foundation.
Yeah, and it couldn't be better. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better group of guys to be with. And, we're hoping that this season goes, we got goals, and we're not going to hide from anybody. And we're going to fight everybody that comes at us. So, that's one thing that I love about these guys is they got a little bit of scrap in them, and we're only going to get stronger as it goes along.
Certainly.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming in. Guys, really appreciate y'all getting up and coming in, especially after playing last night and having a wonderful road trip to do that with.
Beautiful ride.
Yeah.
So
just don't want to get lost.
We wish you the best of the luck, especially going into the heart of that district schedule. And Michael, let's go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Marcus, time for a break. And when we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight as Goatee Sports Page veteran Donnie Moore will have the sports headlines, and then our crew will talk some Heisman Trophy and the transfer portal. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd Sports Spotlight. And first up is Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore with this week's sports headlines. And Donnie, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I just kind of had to pick and choose this week.
Yeah.
You know, get some stuff in, and I did that. So let's begin. Those in the know say the possibility of New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers making a comeback this season is unlikely, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. Jets head coach Robert Saleh said Rodgers pushed it up a little bit during Thursday's practice session and looked normal. The Jets opened Rodgers' 21-day practice window on November 29th and have until December 20th to activate the quarterback, or else he will have to spend the remainder of the season on injured reserve. So he's not got much time to go.
He's not playing.
I don't think he will either. I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, three-time Pro Bowl tight end Frank Wycheck, who threw the lateral that initiated the Music City Miracle, launching the Tennessee Titans' run to their lone Super Bowl appearance, has died. He was 52 years old. According to a statement from his family, Wycheck, who played college football at the University of Maryland, died at his home in Chattanooga after an apparent fall where he hit his head Saturday morning. Wycheck played 11 seasons in the NFL before retiring. The Music City Miracle came with 16 seconds left in an AFC wildcard game on January the 8th, 2000, which ranked fourth among the NFL's greatest plays when the league celebrated its first 100 years in 2019. It went down like this. Lorenzo Neal caught a kickoff and handed it off to Wycheck, who then threw the ball across the field to Kevin Dyson. Dyson sped 75 yards for the winning touchdown in the final seconds of a stunning 22-16 comeback victory over the Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo fans insist to this day that
lateral.
the throw was a forward
pass.
pass.
Yep.
Wycheck, on the other hand, told the Associated Press in 2019 he never had a doubt his pass was a lateral.
Yeah.
He finished his career with 505 receptions, 5,126 yards, and 28 touchdowns over 155 games. When he retired, he ranked number 4 in the NFL for most catches among tight ends.
Oh, it's a shame. He was also, I believe, one of their announcers for the football game.
He was. He worked for ESPN.
ESPN and all that. And it's unfortunate. So it sounds like what, he fell?
Yep.
And
had a fall, hit his head, and
maybe
they
up on
found
the
him
roof.
dead later on that day.
Terrible
Yeah.
way. Great man.
He sure was. Well-traveled Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. and his Huskies have their sights trained on the Longhorns of Texas and hopefully the possibility of one more game this season. After that, Penix plans to put college football behind him and offer his talents to the NFL. However, Washington won't be totally devoid of talent at that position. Former Mississippi State quarterback Will Rogers told ESPN's Pete Thamel yesterday he will use his one remaining year of eligibility to play for the Huskies. And Penix's jump to the NFL should offer Rogers a good chance to land a starting job next season.
Washington.
Number two all-time passer in SEC history.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Washington, the Kentucky of the Pac-2.
I was thinking the same thing.
Give us your. They've got a statue of. Give us your quarterbacks and put them in the portal.
That's it. Yeah. Jumping from Mississippi State to Washington, almost all the way across the country.
Free agency at its finest.
Oh yeah, the portal.
The portal.
The portal. Well, you like watching college football bowl games? I certainly hope so, because in a little more than 20 years, the number of televised bowl games has more than doubled. In the year 2000, bowl season contained just over 20 games, but in the last 2 decades, the growth rate has been phenomenal. By 2006, college football passed 30 bowl games. In 2015, the sport hit the 40 mark. Expansion has slowed a bit in the last decade, however, but for the 2023 season, this year, college football teams will play only 42 bowl games.
And I think the playoff will help this. That's one thing nobody's talked about. But they're not going to do it at first, but I think there's a whole strata of bowl games that can be used to play these playoff games, because the one we've got on now, I'm not going to bring down the fans here, but Georgia Southern versus Ohio. I mean, yeah, ESPN's got on. There's some money there, but that stadium's empty. And
it's all for television.
It's basically a made-for-television event, so you can sub this out and still not upset the
Remember
apple cart.
today we got the Cricket Celebration Bowl.
The Cricket Celebration
Bowl.
Yeah, don't ask what they have to eat at halftime.
I don't even want to know.
Chocolate covered.
The Avocados from Mexico Bowl.
Yeah.
What's another one? Good one. The Starco Brands LA Bowl. I'll give you one more.
Formerly the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl.
Yeah. And then the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl.
Well, it makes me wonder.
I'm excited.
Could they be running out of good names for them?
They're running out of them. Wait. And Tuesday we've got the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
Scooters Coffee. We're getting Are we getting a Scooters Coffee in Maryville?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I in our future, I see the Goatee Sports page. I almost made a real bowl game bowl. We're going to play
we
over.
got it.
Come to glorious Maryville College to play the bowl game. We're going to get an ESPNU contract probably.
Yeah.
And we're going to get like whoever the last place team in the ACC to play the last place team in the SEC.
Now, here's an interesting fact for you. Only 3 of the 42 bowl games will not be broadcast on Disney-owned ESPN or ABC.
Only 3.
Only 3 of them.
So who broadcasts?
What's that tell you? Well,
Disney.
CBS or
it's a good year for Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
I think that's
you
only
better
on.
believe it.
I think that's only on New Year's Day that those 3 games come in. I may be wrong, but I think it's New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, is that the
So
playoff game?
What's that tell you about what if there's a monopoly in broadcasting sports now?
Yep. All Disney.
Disney. Because Disney owns ABC.
That's right. And ESPN.
Yeah.
A whole different world.
You better believe it.
A whole different world.
I'm going to kill this thing if I
You
can.
get it. He's been flying
If
around
I
your
can.
head, right there, right in front of you. Yep.
I can't catch him.
That was the
Anyway.
Gnat, that was the Gnat Eater Bowl.
The Gnat Catcher Bowl. Good. Well, that's all for this week's sports headlines. Now let's bring the Boyd Sports Spotlight into focus. Back to you, Gunner.
Hey, it's time to bring back in our sports page crew: Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Tony. I really had a whole bunch of stuff here I was gonna have, but I'm gonna go off. I'm going to go off what I've got here a little bit.
Oh no!
Go for it.
Sorry.
Off the beaten path.
Blow it up.
Last week, and you guys can ask questions if you want to. That's fine. But last week, Indiana basketball and college basketball and professional basketball lost a great player. George McGinnis passed away last week.
Yeah.
George was a ABA great player.
Sure.
Great player in the NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers and with the Indiana Pacers in the ABA back in the day. And, of course, he spent 1 year at Indiana University playing college basketball. And our paths crossed. George went to Washington High School in Indianapolis, and I went to Greenfield High School, which is about 15 miles away. And we were both having good careers, and our team, 1969, was a big year. And the first time that I'd ever seen George or met George as a player, the Indianapolis, I guess, media got together, Marcus, the media got together with the 2 schools. We gave up a home game, and George's team gave up a home game, and they rented out Butler Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis for a doubleheader. We played the first game, and George's team played the second game. And it was a great night for both of us and both of our teams. And that's sort of how we got a relationship going. And then we were both chosen for the Indiana All-Star game. And I know that means nothing around here, but in Indiana,
big deal.
But in Indiana, it was a big deal. The first game was played in June in Indianapolis. 15,600 people sell out in Indianapolis, no air conditioning. And the second game against Kentucky, the series was played against the Kentucky All-Stars. The second game was played in Freedom Hall, 19,500 people. Wow. George really made his mark in that series. We played in Indianapolis the first game, and George got 23 points. He got 14 rebounds. Pretty good game by most everybody's standards. He didn't shoot real well. He was 6 for 23 or something like that from the field, but he still had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
The other team had a player by the name of Joe Voskule, and he came out in the paper saying that, George is not the player he's made up to be.
Oh, really?
He's not going to get 23 in Louisville. We went down to Louisville to play in that game down there, and Kentucky had one of their best teams in this series for a long time, and were predicted to win down there. George got 53 points and 30 rebounds in that game, and they never forgot that game. That set the tone for George McGinnis's career, that Louisville game down there. And Tony, the part about it that people don't realize, he missed 11 free throws in that game, 5 one-on-ones.
Oh, really?
11 free throws, Marcus, and 5 of them were one-on-ones. He could have scored over 60-some points. But that game right there put him up there with Oscar Robertson.
Sure.
The greatest player in Indiana to that point was Oscar Robertson, but that put George McGinnis on the radar. And as we talk now, if you ask most people in Indiana who the three greatest players are, they're going to say Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, and George McGinnis, in that order. Those are going to be the three players that are going to – and that's the way it's been for a long time. But after that series was over with, George and I, we became, pretty good friends. This is way back when both of us had the world by the yank, so to speak. We were 18 years old.
Yeah.
And, he would come over to the house, and we had a basketball court in the backyard, and we'd shoot. Played on the same AAU team that summer after the All-Star game. George's dad never saw him play a basketball game. Never saw him play, but he saw him play the game in Louisville. For some reason or other, he went to Louisville and saw George play the greatest game that he ever played.
Well, he just never went? Or
one week after that game, his dad was working on a scaffold, doing some construction work at Eli Lilly Company in Indianapolis, and he fell 60 feet and lost his life. And we went to the funeral home, and Gary Donna, who was George's agent, was there, and a good friend, and we were all there, and then we played AAU ball that summer. George went to Indiana University. Of course, you couldn't play as a freshman.
Right.
You just played a freshman game. And then as a sophomore, he averaged 30 points a game in the Big Ten. And I, just a tremendous job. But his mom was having a hard time. So he decided to leave school and sign. And back in that day, Marcus, that was kind of unheard of, that you would leave college and sign to play professional basketball as a sophomore.
You went with the ABA then, right?
Yeah, he went with the ABA, went to Pacers. They gave him $14,000 bonus money to sign with them. He took every dime of that money and bought his mom a house.
Yeah.
And so he was just
what kind of guy was he?
He was an extrovert.
Yeah.
And his teammate there at Washington High School, Steve Downing, was an introvert. You didn't see George without Steve. Steve was 6'8", about 215, 220. George was 6'7", 235. Didn't have solid muscle. Never lifted a weight. Played football. Was an All-American Tony in football and an All-American in basketball, and was recruited by Duffy Doherty at Ohio State. And Duffy told him, he says, he'll be the next. What's his name that played up there? The
Michigan State?
Yeah, back in Duffy's day there, the linebacker or the defensive end or whatever.
The defensive lineman, Bubba Smith?
Bubba Smith. Be the next Bubba Smith.
How about that?
And then George says, no, I'm gonna play basketball. Basketball is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so he decided to stay with basketball. His hands were he was just like a big kid. You ask him about what type of kid. He was very friendly to all the people. He was that way the rest of his life. He'd take the time to talk to you, and it's just a great loss for India. Had the biggest hands. If you shook hands with George McGinnis, it was like you lost your hand.
Really?
I mean, his hands were so big. It would just engulf you. But
hands like Julius Erving.
Yeah. Of course, he went to Philadelphia and played. He didn't like Philadelphia when he moved there. He was going to make more money in free agency, and he had to make that move because the ABA didn't pay as much money as the NBA.
Right.
And then he went from there to Denver, and then back to the Pacers, and that was pretty much.
He played about 14 years.
Yeah,
okay.
Somewhere around that. But he just recently got inducted into the National Basketball Hall of Fame. But he got to know my parents real well. He was real taken by my dad.
Really?
Oh, him and my dad and George McGinnis really got along for some reason or another. When we had picnics, I'd go up for the 500-mile race or go up. When we would be off down here and go up there, Gary Donna would have us over at his house for a picnic or a get-together, and George would always be there. And my mom and dad ran around with Gary's parents, and it was sort of like a family. But we got to know each other pretty well. But that was a long time ago. He was just 18, 19 years old, and then. It was just, but all those memories, how memories are, Tony.
Sure,
they just, it's like they happened yesterday.
Yeah.
But
You just, it's like you wake up. A lot of times I say, at night I dream and I dream about when I was a younger kid and all my buddies, and you just wake up. It just seemed like it was only yesterday. And being out there, especially.
He was the number one player in the state. There was no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the number one player. And sometimes when you're the number one player in Indiana and you go play in that Indiana All-Star Series, you can get hung up on your own individuality. You know,
Right.
you want to perform and
Right.
live up to number one. George was not like that. He came in there, kept everybody together. He was the glue of the team, kept everybody loose. And was, the whole deal was to beat Kentucky, and he was a team guy.
Sure.
You want to ask what kind of guy he was? He wasn't an individual by any
Yeah.
stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
He was a team guy, all the way around. But
was he ill for a while, or was he sick? Or?
he had back trouble.
Okay.
He had back trouble, and he went through a lot of surgeries on his back.
Yeah.
He had some sort of hereditary disorder. Then he got to where he was having trouble walking.
Yeah.
And then this latest deal was a cardiac deal. It was sudden. It was.
Was it really?
Yeah. It happened. I guess last Thursday.
Sure.
But he was pretty frail. It certainly didn't look like the same person that I remember, back in.
And that's what's frustrating, with we're all athletes. We've all played, and we all remember when we were younger and how we could run and jump. I didn't dunk the ball, but all those athletic moves and all that. And now when you're older, you're not able to do that type of stuff. And and so, but what a great life he led, and I'm glad that you had a great.
Yeah, I have those memories, and I'll never forget. He got me over one time and said, "I'm going to tell you something." Said, "You wouldn't have led this state in scoring." He said, "You know who would have led it?" And I said, "Who?" He said, I would have led it. I would have led the state in scoring." Said, "I only played a half a game." Said, we beat these teams so bad that they took me out, and I averaged 27.5 points a game." He said, well, I would have beat you by a long shot. I said, I would average 40 or 45 points. And then he would just laugh and grin about it. Had this real infectious laugh and grin, and just maybe hit you on the side, and so forth. But great loss for the state of Indiana basketball-wise, and a great loss for basketball across the country. But what a great player and what a great individual George McGinnis was.
I appreciate you having the great memories and relationship with him.
Yeah. Hey, it's time for a break. And when we return, it's the Bold Predictions segment. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Good job.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's Bowl Predictions segment. I'm here with Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Tony Iruli, and kind of going off the cuff a little bit here this morning. But, Tony, I want to get with you here in this segment. I watched that Army-Navy game last week, and I'm going to tell you, that was an exciting football game. Went right down to the last foot, big guy. Huh?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was maybe not the most exciting game throughout the game, but it came down to the very end of the game. And, you know, I've been to 5 Army-Navy games.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, and in fact, after we were watching the game, my family, I think we're going to go to the next one, but it's going to be in Washington, D.C. next year. But I mean, if you ever get a chance to go to that game, just the game is the sideshow, all right? It's the pageantry, the academies marching in, all the stuff that's going on during the commercial breaks, the flyovers, the parachutists coming in. I mean, you know, just talk about it gives me goosebumps right now. I mean, it is absolutely a great experience being able to go to the Army-Navy
I
game.
thought it was rather ironic that Navy got back into the football game with a passing game. You know, they threw the ball.
Yeah, that's rather unusual.
Yes, and that's what gave them a chance to come back. And
they threw the ball for a 6-yard completion, and they were on a roll.
Yeah.
And it got down to the 1 foot line, and couldn't punch it in.
Couldn't punch it in. They couldn't move it across the line. Of course, they tried the quarterback sneak, and it was just Army had everybody up there,
everyone
but
in the world. And all
there
that.
was no way. There was no way they were going to get that. You could tell it wasn't going to go when the snap went through. But
just a side note, Carson Newman just hired the.
Yes, I was going to ask you about it. Fill in everybody on that.
Yeah, we hired Coach Ashley Ingram, who was the offensive line coach, assistant head coach at the Naval Academy. Been there for 16 years. Him starting off in the coaching profession. He came across a lot of people that I knew, so we had a nice meeting the other day, and so I'm glad I'm going to be back up there. But he's going to be obviously the options series is coming back to Carson Newman.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what the alums were kind of looking for, and so just had a great chance. I met with him for about 30 minutes the other day. True professional, and I think it was a great hire by Carson.
Good, very good, very good. Marcus, I'm going to hit you. Jaden Daniels, the quarterback at LSU, won the Heisman Trophy last week. You agree with that selection? You all right with it?
I'm okay with it. I was hoping this was going to be the year of not the quarterback. I was hoping this was going to be the Marvin Harrison Jr. year, because I didn't think any of the quarterbacks had what we would typically call a Heisman season, where they had the numbers and a defining win that just kind of made
the wow
factor. If you wanted to call it some other things in reminiscence, I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. had a better case for the Heisman than maybe a defensive back at Michigan did against Peyton Manning in comparison. But they still get – I don't have a problem with him receiving the Heisman. I thought he had a great year. But this was not a year where we started debating the Heisman in week 4 and saying, oh, this is going to be one of these 2 or 3 guys. It was just kind of like, well, all 4 of these guys had good years. Let's make them finalists.
Yeah.
I was pulling for him because he was the only one of the 4 that never transferred to a different school. The other 3.
All the quarterbacks
there you go. That's a good point.
They've all transferred at least once.
Yeah, and they had a lot more experience. Some of them had 6 years.
6 years. I mean,
you ought to be pretty good if you've been there 6 years.
I think I was still in high school. I think I was still in high school. One of them started at college. And I was pulling for Marvin.
Yeah. The only problem I had with it a little bit is I like to see the Heisman. I don't know what game he hangs his hat on. You know, what moment, Donnie, he hangs his hat on. You know, every Heisman Trophy winner's had that one moment, that one game, that big deal.
Defining moment.
Yeah, and you're looking at Michael Penix there. He finished second, and, you know, he's in the playoffs. You know, he's got a chance to win the national championship. And, you know, I was a little surprised that, you know, maybe he didn't show a little bit more in this vote because of the year he had. And he won some big games. There were some big some big moments where he came from behind to win some games.
But he was never going to get it because you had a quarterback from Oregon and a quarterback from Washington. They split the West Coast votes. There was never going to happen.
Correct.
They canceled each other out.
Yep.
If you go back into the voting conspiracies that go on with the Heisman and how they arrange those ballots.
Conspiracies?
It's
what
I mean, you're just when you've got two good players from one region to split the ballot, if they are not, especially for West Coast where their games are later and you don't have as many primetime games, you're not going to get those East Coast votes.
Yeah.
You're never going to see those.
Chances are most fans have never really ever seen them.
I mean, I've stayed up to watch both of them where they are now.
Well, that's because you're working.
But, you know, that's not what the average
Sure.
person is doing, and I don't think it's what the average voter in the Heisman race is doing.
Yeah. Donnie, how do you think the rest of the country looked at this? I mean, you know, the Southeastern Conference has dominated the championships, playoffs, and here we are. We got another Southern guy who win the Heisman Trophy. It's like everything's happening down here. I don't know how everybody else takes that.
The rest of the country just throws up their hands and says, I told you so.
Or they go out and look for some more schools to add to their conference, huh? So maybe they can get there some way. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, let's just go tear another conference
But now the SEC's got more schools in their conference.
Yeah.
You know?
The Southeastern Conference is really not in the Southeast.
No, not now.
It's
going to be a nationwide conference.
Man. Well, it's not as bad as the ACC, what they've taken in, or the Big Ten. We have become we're about as regional as anybody.
That's true.
Compared to the others, we look pretty good compared to where they got their other schools.
10 years ago, we could not make this up.
Yeah.
You'd write an article, and we say, Marcus, what's the matter with you?
Who would have thought?
There's no way this would have done.
Who would have thought it?
This Heisman vote to me this year, it just doesn't. It was just sort of. You know, it wasn't all that exciting, to be honest with you.
To tell you the truth, I never turned it on. I mean, not interested. You know, there's.
Has it lost some of its luster, Tony?
To me, it has, because there's so many other things that are going on, and to me it seems like it's kind of overkill in so many ways. Where it's but I didn't even know the show was coming on. It's by the way, here's the Heisman. It used to be such a.
I know they used to hype it up.
Such a huge build up and all that, and it was like Friday night. That's what I said. Oh, tomorrow we got the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I don't think the Heisman Trophy and the college All-American selections have been the same since they went away from Bob Hope. Remember when Bob Hope used to have the teams on the All-American selections?
They'd come on out there.
They'd come on at Christmas time, and he'd bring them out there and make some joke about them, and then they'd run off.
I miss old Bob.
Yeah. Well, how about I want to hit you, Tony, on the transfer portal. There's been 175 plus SEC players. They're in the transfer portal.
Just SEC players.
Just SEC players. That surprised you? That seemed like a lot of players.
Yeah. I mean,
only 10 per school.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's free. Say what it is. It is not college sports anymore. It's a minor league football system. All right. It's free agency. There's one rule. All right, and the rule is there are no rules. I mean, you got guys now they're going to play for their 6th season in college football. You got guys that are transferring, now to their 4th team. The problem is a lot of these guys, in high school they've transferred in 3 or 4 different places as well, and so so there's no restrictions. They try to do something in the courts that got denied, and so like I said, I mean, the NCAA, whatever again, I don't know the details. Pandora's box is open, and you're not going to be able to shut it.
And a lot of places Marcus, are going to the transfer portal to get well pretty quick. So my big question here is, where does this leave high school players coming out of high school going into college?
It's a mess that has the potential to work itself out with a little bit of governance. We'll see if that happens. But if they turn into a pure economic matter where the collectives are truly running the recruiting, it will work itself out, because you will see that to a degree where they will be, okay, this is what you can spend. And then you're going to have coaches who are looking and saying, you know what, if I have to pick an offensive lineman, give me the guy who played 3 years here and has at least got that behind him, rather than playing 3 seasons at 3 different schools and not having one start between those 3.
Yeah. You know, we're talking about the major college schools, you know, the players, they're not really nowadays recruiting for this year's class. They're recruiting that kid who's probably going to go somewhere else, but know within a year that guy is going to be available most likely again. So what you want to do is you're putting together a great relationship, so when that guy's getting ready to transfer, you got a great rapport.
And they're going to fix the bowl problem, because collectives are starting to pay a bonus to play in the bowl game. I almost guarantee you.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the guys that's in demand is those quarterbacks. I mean, some of these other guys are, you know, second teamers, guys that they don't see the playing time down the road. But these guys that are quarterback, they're in demand. I mean, Duke lost their quarterback. He's a pretty good player. He's going to Notre Dame next year.
Well, Matt Rule up in Nebraska said, you know, he's looked at 2 or 3 quarterbacks that you know, their price is $1 million for them to transfer to Nebraska.
Oklahoma has lost their entire offensive line. Their entire offensive line.
Donnie's getting ready to whistle us for a penalty.
Oh, okay. We're going to penalize.
Donnie's always spoiling a good thing here. Right when we get in this.
We really had it rolling here and all that. Blow that whistle.
All right, blow the whistle. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Tony Iruli, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the